What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend. And as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. We have so much to get into this week. A new Love Island winner, Justin Bieber releasing a surprise album, Miley Cyrus never going on tour again, Ariana Grande starring in a Dr. Seuss movie in 2028. Like, there is so much to dive into and chat about, and we're going to get into all of it as we always do. However, I just wanted to take a second quick at the top of the show and say thank you guys so much. If you don't follow me on Instagram or Twitter, you might not have seen, but we hit our download goal for the entire year this week, which is insane. So I set a goal at the beginning of the year. I did this last year as well. Last year I did it for like my 1 year I wanted to do it, but this time I did it for like January to December, like an actual calendar year. And I set a goal for how many downloads and plays I wanted to get across all platforms by December. So that's Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, like wherever it is, you know, all of the numbers to add up to one bigger number. And we have already passed it. And it is just so crazy to me. And I was like, I knew we were coming up on it, but I was like, you know, maybe, who knows? Like, you never know what's going to happen. You know, things could take a turn any day and people could just stop listening, whatever it may be. And I'm very thankful that people listen every single week. But the fact that like we are only halfway through 2025 and I've already hit my goal is seriously so incredible. So thank you guys so much. Seriously, whether this is your first episode, your 10th episode, your 50th episode, I believe this is my 93rd episode that I'm recording, including all my bonus ones, which feels insane to say. But yes, we're coming up on 2 years in October, which is also crazy. So I'm like, what is next for Too Pop to Handle? You know, like what is the next phase for us? What do we do from here? How do we go? And you know, I've got some ideas up here in this noggin. It's not just, you know, pop culture brain rot going on up in this skull. I do have a vision and a plan. So I'm excited, and it just means a lot to see that you guys are listening every week and supporting, and I am so excited to just continue on this Too Pop to Handle journey with you guys. But enough about me. We have so much to get into, like I said, so I think we just jump right into it, kicking things off as we always do with our Drew releases, our new music releases from last week and our new music releases coming up this week. If you did not see, if you're not following me on YouTube or subscribe to me, whatever the word is, I can't keep up every social media platform, is a different terminology. Blackpink released their comeback single Jump last week, and I did record a reaction video to the music video. It is incredible. The song, the video, everything about it, I love. I like cannot wait. I feel like I always like measure a song on how bad I want to hear it out at a club. This is a 10 on that scale, a 10 out of 10. I cannot wait to hear this out. The beat is so fun. It's just so energetic, and the video is so sick. Like, it's so well done. Seriously, this is how you do a comeback single. Like, this is the way you need to make, especially with Blackpink. Like, they have so many eyes on them. You know, they obviously were huge when they were together a few years ago, and then they all did their solo things, and even their solo endeavors were huge. I mean, with the White Lotus and the Apate, and like, you know, they had their solo albums and everything. Like, they all really did a good job solo. Like, it was really impressive to see them kind of break out and kind of all do their own thing and then still be able to come back together and function as a group. It's really impressive and really admirable. And I was saying in the reaction video, so I'm sorry if this is redundant, but it's cool to see them be able to like go out on their own and then come back and function as one, because that's not something you really see often, you know, especially if you go solo and you get like a taste of a little more fame. Like, if one of the girls, like maybe Lisa, was performing better than Rosé or whatever. This isn't factual. I'm just saying, like, in general, like maybe something sold better for Lisa than Rosé, or one of whatever it may be. Like, it might be hard to like go back to those roots. So like being in a girl group, but like at their core, I think they all function so perfectly as a group. And I am just so thrilled that they are back together and doing their thing. I also didn't realize that they are fully on a tour right now, and they're going to be in New York in a few weeks. So I'm like, all right, maybe I need to look into that and go see, because I've never seen them live, and I watch their live videos a lot. Like, they are somebody, like their Coachella set, unbelievable. Like, they are just such powerhouses on that stage, and I would love to see them. So I might be adding that to my concert roundup or schedule for the year. We will see, but you know, I'm getting ahead of myself. But yes, new Blackpink, I am obsessed. The next release that we're going to be chatting about from last week is one that, if you know me, you know I am holding this near and dear to my heart. Pink Slip from Freaky Friday, or now Freakier Friday, released a re-recorded version of Take Me Away. And now, of course, we all know the song. We all love the song. It is a classified banger in my book. And hearing this song re-recorded in 2025 just feels so wild to me. Like, I've literally been talking about a Freaky Friday sequel for years, even before it was confirmed. Like, you can go back and look at my tweets. Like, I have tweets from way before this was even a thing where they were actually doing it, where I was like, right, when is this happening? Like, we need Pink Slip back together. And the fact that it's happening now, like, it's insane. And like, Christina sounds incredible on it. Like, it's just so wild that in the year 2025, we are less than a month away from a Freaky Friday sequel. I cannot believe it. And in other Freakier Friday news, we have two little things quick. It is full press moments for them. Obviously, we're not going to dive into it too much later in the show, but they did a full Pink Slip, without Lindsay, but a full Pink Slip concert at Disneyland today, which is insane. Chad Michael Murray was there. Jamie Lee Curtis was there. Like, they really pulled out all the stops for this show. It was incredible. It looked so much fun. And like, we are in full Freakier Friday press mode now. Like, any day now, we're going to see premiere photos and we're going to be getting more appearances. And Lindsay and Jamie Lee Curtis, I'm sure they're going to do their whole talk show junket, and the rest of the cast are going to do their things. And like, it is crazy. I am so excited. And on top of that, if you did not see anywhere else, because I feel like I've been shut up about it, and I promise I will, this is the last time I will boast about it, Disney sent me a Freakier Friday PR package. I know. I fucking know. How insane. Funny story for you guys. I didn't say this anywhere else. I got the email 2 weeks ago today from when I'm recording it. And I was in the middle of editing whatever 2 episodes ago was. I was editing the episode on the couch, and I put my phone on Do Not Disturb when I record. And then when I edit, I keep it on Do Not Disturb just because, like, I want to get it done, get no distractions, whatever it may be. So I didn't check my email. I looked at my text, but I didn't, I didn't look at it that in depth. And I was like, no one's going to email me. I'm recording at like 8 p.m., like whatever. Not thinking LA time. And I looked at my email at like 10:30 just by the grace of God. I was like, oh, let me just look at it, whatever. I think my episode was exporting maybe or something. So I just had like a second. And I got the email that said Disney Freakier Friday PR mailer. And the way that I jumped off the couch, my boyfriend Thomas was sitting next to me, and he probably thought that like somebody died. Like, the way that I sprinted up off the couch and like jolted across the living room, I was like, there's no fucking way. Like, this is the most insane thing. I literally kept like zooming in on the email to make sure it was like at Disney.com and like make sure it was a legitimate email, because I was like, there's no fucking way this is real. But lo and behold, it was real. And Disney sent me PR to promote that Freakier Friday tickets are on sale. So it's just insane and like crazy that I could even say that. And if you guys have been listening, I've been so excited for this movie. So the fact that I have any little piece in helping promote it is just, I've been promoting the fucking movie for free for years on this podcast and on Twitter. But the fact that it's like, now co-signed by Disney, it is so insane. So had to come on here and share that little antidote with you guys, because I was literally like mid editing and I was like, imagine I was recording and I got this email, and like sometimes I check my phone while I'm recording, I take a second, I take a breather. And so imagine I like checked my phone while I was recording and got it on tape. Like, we would have been viral, guys. It would have been doing crazy numbers if I had that reaction on video, but I'm glad that I don't, because I probably look like a rabid animal the way that I was reacting to getting that email. But that being said, Freakier Friday tickets are on sale now, and go stream Take Me Away by Pink Slip, now available wherever you get your music. And the final release that we had last week was a surprise drop from no other than Justin Bieber, which was absolutely on nobody's bingo card this year. Like, the way that Justin has been acting, and obviously you can tell by the title, we're going to talk a lot about Justin in a little bit, but just with like what Justin has been up to personally lately, he didn't seem like he was in the headspace to be recording an album, if that makes sense. Like, he didn't seem like he was in the right mindset, or even just like had the want to record music right now. Like, he just seems like he's kind of like doing his own thing. He's kind of over fame, so we thought. I don't know. We'll get into it later, but to all of our surprises, on Thursday, I want to say it was the day before that it came out, he announced that he was releasing a new studio album, Swag, which the fact that this album came out in 2025 and it is called Swag, like, am I missing something? a full transparency, I was never a big Justin Bieber fan. Like, no, I didn't dislike him. I just never really listened to him. Like, he wasn't my thing. He has hits and he has bangers, and I admire what he did for pop music in the the mid to late early 2000s. But like, it just was never my cup of tea. But I understand why people had Bieber fever. It just, I must have had the vaccine for it or something. But that being said, I was like, why is Justin Bieber naming an album Swag in the year 2025? That being said, I obviously had to listen to it because it is a huge pop culture moment. We've been talking about Justin Bieber a lot on the podcast in the last few weeks, I feel like, because there's been so much happening with Coachella and the picture with Hailey on Easter and whatever. Like, we'll get into it in a little bit, like I said. So I tuned into it. And what I'm going to say is I don't hate the album. I don't love the album. I'm kind of in this middle gray area where if I say I like it, I'm only saying that because like, I don't know. Like, it's not that I dislike the album. It's not bad, but it's just not for me. There's definitely songs on it that I like. I really like Daisies, which seems to be like the promotional single that he's pushing for the album. Dad's Love, I liked a lot. I like Devotion. There are songs on the album that I like. I also do think it's a little long. Like, I don't know. I think it's 21 tracks. I don't know if we needed 21 tracks from Justin Bieber this year. Like, I don't know if, I think he could have cut it down to maybe like 15. I think we could have sat comfortably there. It just seemed like 21 was a lot for this. But you know what? I'm not going to police the way somebody makes their art. It's Justin Bieber. At the end of the day, like, he's going to do whatever he wants. And he is Justin Bieber. And he's, built this kind of legacy with his name that, like, he can kind of do whatever he wants. He has this, like, cult, like, following where, like, everybody is going to love whatever he does regardless because he's Justin Bieber. And, like, that's kind of the world that he grew up in terms of like stan culture. Like, it's very similar to like what happened with like One Direction, where like they just like came out and hit at the right time for a select demographic of people, really like teenage girls. And now it's kind of like they are just hooked on them forever. And like, no matter what they do, what their music sounds like, what's next for them, like they're going to support them and go crazy. And like, I'm seeing all these TikToks of people being like, this is the person listening to Swag, but this is who it's released to. And it's a picture of like a 13-year-old girl in her Justin Bieber room with all the posters and the cardboard cutouts and the t-shirt. It's like, no matter what they do, you're going to support it because it's like they were such a huge part in that major part of your life. So it is cool to see all these people who like are and were big Justin Bieber fans. Like, their cup is being filled. My cup isn't being filled, but my cup's being filled by other people. So loving that for the Beliebers out there. So very happy for anyone who is, feeling the Bieber fever this week. More on Justin later, though. We'll talk about him in just a little bit. And that wraps up our releases from last week. And then the only thing on my radar coming out this week is Renee Rapp releasing the third single from her upcoming album, Bite Me. It is called Why Is She Still Here? Like I said, this is the third single from this album. So I'm assuming and kind of hoping this is the last single that we get before the album comes out. I just feel like 4 singles for an album before it even comes out is pretty much the entire album. I don't think we have a track list yet either. So maybe it's a longer album. I don't know. Regardless, I feel like 3 singles is really the max before an album comes out, before you're just kind of like giving away everything on the album. But regardless, I am very excited for a new single from Renee, very excited for this album. And we will chat about that next week. And like I said, that wraps up our releases from this week. And that wraps up our Drew releases. And before we get into our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, I always love to remind you guys that if at any point during this show you are loving what you're hearing, go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating, leave me a review, hit subscribe if you're on YouTube. Don't be shy. Like I said, we hit our download goal, so I know how many people are listening to this show, and the amount of people listening and the amount of reviews that I have, they're not quite equating. There's a pretty large margin. Just, take my word for it. So if you've been listening for a while, or if you're listening for the first time and you are loving what you are hearing, go ahead, leave me a rating, leave me a review. It really is the best way to help support the show, and it would mean the world to me. But that being said, let's get into the show so you could find out whether you love the show or hate the show. Hopefully you love it. Kicking things off with our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, some pop culture rapid fire, is Mr. Bad Bunny again. If you remember last week, I was talking about his Nueva Yol music video and how he sent that message to Trump. Oh, actually, before we even get into it, I got a comment on TikTok. I clipped that part of the show, and I said on the episode that like, oh wow, thanks for using AI in the right way, because he did the part where he was like on the Statue of Liberty and there was a Puerto Rican flag, and I was like, oh, thanks for using AI properly. And someone commented and they were like, oh, now when we see video editing, we just assume it's AI. And I gotta apologize for that. That is very true. Just because something is, clearly not real and definitely edited, it does not mean it is AI. And I know it is a big conversation right now whether or not artists are using AI in their music videos. I know Blackpink is getting a lot of backlash saying that they use AI, but they're posting all of their behind the scenes videos, and I'm pretty sure there was no AI used in their music video. So I should think before I speak, especially with AI and assuming that an artist is using it in their music videos. And I do feel like I know that Bad Bunny has the budget to, hire an actual video editor. So my apologies there. I saw the comment and I was like, you know what? I gotta own up to that one. They are correct. I should just stop assuming that things are AI just because the world that we are living in is, full of AI these days. But anyway, getting on to this week's topic, he kicked off his Debi Mama's Fotos tour in Puerto Rico over the weekend. And holy shit, does this tour look unbelievable. Like, the production value that he put into this show is insane. If you have not seen the videos, take a second, pause the show, go watch a few of them, because seriously, it is next level. And this is the type of performances that I want from these men. I always rag on male pop stars for not doing the most and doing the bare minimum and just somehow sliding by. Just know, when I am having those conversations, I am never, ever talking about Bad Bunny, because one thing about that man is he is going to put on a performance. He has an entire house, an entire casita in the middle of the floor for this tour, in which he throws a house party during the show for it is insane. The entire stage is covered in this greenery, and it kind of just brings Puerto Rico to life on stage. And when you think about the messaging of the album, and it's so, celebratory of Puerto Rico and their culture and everything that makes Puerto Rico great. And I mean, the album cover art, literally when I was in Puerto Rico, I saw that everywhere. I saw 2 plastic chairs sitting just in random spots. I knew that was a thing, and I knew that was obviously he wouldn't have just made that up, but seeing it in real time, I was like, he really nailed it with this album. He encompassed what Puerto Rico is in an album so fabulously. And while I was there, I was hearing his album played over and over and over, and it really was just the soundtrack of that trip. And he gave me such a better appreciation for the album and just everything that he kind of stands for. But my God, this tour that he is doing, the ceiling, he has these giant messages being projected up on the ceiling. It is insane, truly unbelievable. And I mean, yes, I am very upset that it is not coming to the US. I would love to be able to go to the show and see it. However, I understand more than my, the understanding of him not coming to the US is a greater than me being upset about not being able to go. I get why he's not doing it in the US, and honestly, claps to him for not bringing it here. But a little bit of me is damn, I would love to see this show. But obviously, there's a bigger picture and a bigger reason as to why he is not doing that. But I just needed to give Bad Bunny, some more praise and admiration, because he really is just on his shit lately. He is killing it. This tour looks unbelievable. Moving on to the next moment of the week, that was just too pop to handle. Some concert adjacent news. So Beyonce was in Atlanta for the Cowboy Carter tour. She did 4 shows. She brought back 16 carriages finally. Now, instead of flying around on a car, she flies around on a horse, which is incredible and insane. And I'm like, how the hell did we just have that horse ready on standby waiting for a rainy day? Her mind is insane. She brought out Jay-Z for the last 2 nights. He performed a song each night. Then they did Crazy in Love. They did Partition, Drunk in Love, very a la what she did in Paris, which again, just crazy that she just has these backup plans in her back pocket ready to go whenever. It's actually terrifying. But the big headline coming out of the weekend is the fact that Beyonce was robbed while she was in Atlanta. Somebody broke into a rental car that was being used by her choreographer and dancer, and they stole hard drives that had unreleased Beyonce music, unreleased tour footage that was on there, tour set list, choreography, and a whole bunch of other stuff were taken from this car. The theft occurred on July 8th, which was 2 days before Beyonce's first Atlanta performance, which I thought it was interesting that it happened on the 8th, and they didn't didn't announce this until the night of the final show. I guess they didn't want to draw attention to it or like, you know, make it a bigger deal until they kind of could try to figure it out. Beyonce does like to kind of keep things secret before she figures it out more, but I guess they just like couldn't figure out who the thief was. So they kind of had to escalate it a little bit more before they left Atlanta. Atlanta police said that an arrest warrant has been issued, but the suspect's name has not been made public. They found fingerprints and tracked stolen devices, but have not said whether or not the items were recovered. And it's just crazy when you think like Beyonce takes such extreme measures to make sure her music never gets leaked. Even like with the self-titled album, it was called something completely different every time she would talk about it with people because she didn't want anyone to even know that it was going to be called Beyonce. Like she is so protective of her music, of her art. I mean, we don't even have the Renaissance movie on streaming. We don't even have the Formation World Tour DVD that they fully filmed and like was allegedly ready to go. Like there's so much that Beyonce has in the archives that just like has never seen the light of day and will probably never see the light of day. And the fact that somebody just like has it at their fingertips right now is insane. Like you don't hear about these things happening to somebody like Beyonce, you know, not just because she's Beyonce and she's rich and secure, whatever, but like she's not like loosey-goosey with her content and her things. Like just having it on a hard drive like that seems so crazy to me. What I will say is I'm sure it is password protected. So like even if they do have the hard drives, I'm sure there's a password and they can't get into it. And even if they are able to bypass the password, I'm sure there's some type of software on it. Like there's so many ways that like you can encode a hard drive to like be completely wiped if somebody overrides the password. So like I'm sure if anything, everything on there will never actually get leaked, but it's just crazy to think that like the physical hard drives have been stolen or just like out and about in the world. I'm like, do they have the Renaissance World Tour? Do they have like what unreleased music does she have? Like what is on there that like could potentially ever get leaked? And for this to just be like in her choreographer's car, the rental car at that, and like was broken into, like, did they know it was Beyonce's rental car? Like, did they know that it was her? Like, they must have known. Cause like if you break into a car, you don't steal a hard drive, you know, like if I broke into somebody's car, not that I ever have, but like I would imagine if I ever broke into somebody's car and I saw like a hard drive sitting there, I wouldn't think to take that because like I don't give a fuck what your work files are, you know, like I don't need to see the PDFs on there that you have stored from your college essays or whatever it may be. Like I don't care about that. But like they must have known that this was tied to Beyonce and like had some inkling that there was like something on these hard drives, right? Like that's like the only thing that makes sense to me. Like you didn't think to steal like money or if there was anything more valuable in the car, which I'm sure that there was, than a hard drive sitting somewhere. Like it just seemed so weird to me that that's what they targeted. So I'm assuming somebody knew that this was her car or like related to her, which is also terrifying that like people have access to things like that and can like find out whose rental car is who. I don't know, you know, it's all regardless of whose car it is. Like anybody breaking into somebody's car is a scary thing to happen. But very interesting. And I'm curious to see like if they find out who it was and if there was any ulterior motives and things like that behind it. But yeah, just definitely not news that you usually hear about Beyonce. So I was like, we've got to talk about this on the podcast. Switching gears, something a little more uplifting. The Emmy nominations are out, and a lot of the shows that we love here at Too Pop to Handle are very highly nominated. So the 77th Annual Emmy Awards will take place on September 14th, 2025. We're going to go through some of the most nominated shows, and then we're just going to go show by show and chit chat about some of the nominations that they got. So the most nominated show is Severance with 27 nominations. The Penguin has 24. The Studio got 23, and then tied with The Studio is The White Lotus, which we love. The Last of Us got 16. Andor got 14, and then Hacks, another show that I am just obsessed with, has 14. So those are the shows that have the most nominations. And now we're just going to go through, you know, the shows that I love and chit chat about who's nominated, what they're nominated for, and just, you know, celebrate these people giving us fantastic television. So kicking it off with The White Lotus, like I said, they get 23 nominations, which is crazy. They're nominated for Outstanding Supporting Drama Series, Outstanding Directing, Outstanding Writing, and then for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series, they have 4 divas up for this award. They have Carrie Coon, Parker Posey, Natasha Rothwell, and Amy Lou Wood, which looking at that list, absolutely. Like the 4 of them, I mean, specifically Parker Posey, all of them did a fantastic job, but Parker Posey was just every scene she was in The White Lotus this season, she was taking it. She stole the scene every single time the camera panned to her. And what I love the most is that a lot of it was not improv, but like they didn't know exactly what she was going to do in terms of like her accent or like the inflection she added to a word. So she was really just acting to the highest degree in that role. And I'm so thrilled that she is getting the flowers that she deserves. I mean, Natasha Rothwell also had an insane season, and I'm so curious to see what happens with her next season on the show. Like the way that it ended with her character, I am dying to know what is next. But I mean, Carrie Coon, that one monologue that she gave alone is like, give her the goddamn Emmy. And of course, we all love Amy Lou Wood. Like I am thrilled that she's having this moment because she really was incredible this season. For Outstanding Actor in a Drama Series, we have Walter Goggins, who I loved this season. Jason Isaacs, who I also thought just did like, he was so committed to the bit, you know, like the entire season, he was stressing about the fact that like he's broke and none of his family members know because they all gave their phones away and like he can't tell them while they're in Thailand. And he was so, even the scene where I'm forgetting the character's name, but his son, when he like dies by the pool, the way that he was like fully, you could feel the emotion that he had for his, who he thought was dead son sitting next to the pool. Like he really did such a standout job in this role. So love to see that he is on this list. And then Sam Rockwell was also nominated in the same category. I loved this season of White Lotus. I know it was controversial online, whether people loved it or they didn't. And like, I did a whole episode breaking down why I think people didn't like it and why it really wasn't anything different than we saw in other White Lotus seasons. So if you just search like Too Pop to Handle White Lotus, I have a whole, I think it's called What Happens at the White Lotus Stage of the White Lotus. And it was like the end of the season after the finale, did a whole breakdown of the entire season and like my thoughts on all the different character arcs and things like that. So if you haven't listened to that, or if you want to go remind yourself or refresh yourself, you can go listen to that over there. Moving on to the next show is Hacks, which is, you know, between Hacks and the next show on this list, Abbott Elementary, they battle for my favorite show right now that's on. Like, I love Hacks and Abbott Elementary so much, but kicking it off with Hacks first, they were nominated for Outstanding Comedy Series, Outstanding Casting for a Comedy Series, and then Jean Smart was nominated for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy. I mean, obviously, like this, every season of Hacks just gets better and better and better. The characters just marinate in these plot lines so beautifully as the seasons progress. And like, they seriously are so, what's the word I'm looking for? They're so just like well equipped to these roles at this point, between Jean and Hannah, even Paul W. Downs, Meg Stalter, like the entire cast just embodies these characters so perfectly. And I feel like every season get more and more in tune with who their characters are. And this season specifically, like doing the late night show, and like Deborah really was just like on a whole nother level. And I mean, we'll get into Hannah Einbinder in a second, but like Jean Smart is just, what an icon. I love her so much, and she deserves all of the awards for this season of Hacks. And speaking of somebody else who deserves every single award after this season of Hacks is Hannah Einbinder, Ava. I mean, the scene alone where she has the crash out over the Branzino and throws it at the window and then is screaming and drives through the security gate at the studio, that alone gives her the Emmy nominee. And like, then just all the other work that she did throughout the season is what's going to make her win it. She was out of control this season in the best way possible. I love this. I think that Hannah and Jean make such a perfect duo, both on screen and off screen, but like the way that they love each other off screen makes their characters, when they hate each other on screen, almost even better, because you know how committed to hating each other they have to be. Like, they work so well together because they get along so well, and they admire each other and they respect each other so well. So when they're doing these scenes when they have to hate each other, and like this season, specifically, like their characters butt heads, I feel like probably more than ever. Season one, they didn't know each other yet. Like, their characters were just meeting, of course. So questionably might have hated each other more there, but I feel like they hated each other a lot more in this season. What is this, season 5 now? I want to say it was either season 4 or season 5. I'm pretty sure it's season 5. But regardless, now they know each other so well and have gone through so much together. Like the hate that their characters have for each other and the love, of course, but like the, you know, when they're butting heads and fighting each other is so much more deep rooted because they're like, they love to hate each other. It's so, they're just phenomenal. I'm obsessed. And then also for outstanding guest actors in a comedy for Hacks, we had Julianne Nicholson and Robbie Hoffman. Julianne was Dan's mom, who seriously just stole the show every scene she was in. It was incredible the way that she stuck to that character and was so annoyingly insufferable in every single scene. And then she turns out to be this crazy drug addict who doesn't even have kids. Like, it was so well done, and I'm so happy to see that she is nominated for this. She was also nominated for another role in a show that I didn't watch, and apparently the roles are like, could not be more opposite. So I love the fact that she has, you know, she's got a lot of sides to her. She's able to play a lot of different roles, so love that for her. And then Robbie Hoffman, I thought that her character was going to be a lot more involved in this show. I feel like they really came in swinging with her character the first like episode or two, and then she kind of disappeared for a while, and she would pop back here and there, and I really did want more of her character, because not that I needed the plot to be more, you know, drawn out or elaborated, because I think the pacing of Hacks is perfectly done, but I just loved the character that Robbie was playing and thought she did it so well that I would have loved to have more, especially with like her, Meg, and Paul. Like, I think the three of them, their dynamic was just so funny, and I hope seeing that she's getting this nomination and that people really responded well to her character, I would love if they bring her back as a reoccurring guest for the rest of the season, or like for season 6 or whatever, you know, however long the show runs for, because I think she really adds a fun element to just the whole situation at hand for what they have. I will say I'm very shocked to see that Paul W. Downs and Meg Salter did not get a single Emmy nomination for their acting. Paul did get a nomination for writing one of the episodes, which his writing and directing on this season was phenomenal. Like, he really stepped it up, and I just love him. I think he's one of the funniest people ever. Even looking back at like Broad City, he was one of my favorite characters there, and like, he is just such a great actor, and he really is like a sponge and soaks up the character that he plays so well. But the fact that him and Meg Stalter were nominated for their acting in this season was insane to me. They were so good this season, and they're always good, but this season they just like really took it to that next level, as did Jean, as did Hannah, as did everybody. This season really was still like just so good, but I was shocked to see them not getting even a nominee. Maybe there's other people better who would win, but like not even a nomination, I was truly shocked by. The next show that we're chatting about is Abbott Elementary, which is another show that I love with my entire heart. They were nominated for Outstanding Comedy Series, and then Quinta was nominated for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy, which I believe she won either last year or the year before. It was the year before. It was 2023. So she's already won this before. She was definitely nominated for it last year. Jean, I think, won it last. Yeah, Jean Smart won it last year. Quinta won it the year before. So again, two leading ladies that I just adore, both nominated again for this. And Quinta was also nominated this year for her outstanding writing for one of the episodes that she wrote, which again, the fact that Quinta stars, writes, produces, pretty much is like the heart of this entire show is so admirable. And just watching Quinta Brunson be Quinta Brunson these days is so crazy, knowing her background and like being somebody who watched her when she was doing her crazy Instagram sketches and her BuzzFeed videos. Like, it's just so inspiring to me to like see somebody start where they started and just like continue to build up. So I'm so excited for Quinta. And then for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, we had Janelle James and Cheryl Lee Ralph both nominated for that, which, I mean, obviously, Ava and Barbara are such principal. I mean, Ava quite literally is the principal, but they are such principal characters in this show and just add such a light and they're perfect in this show. Like, they are seriously, again, kind of similar to Hacks. Like, they have just become so marinated in these characters and truly embody the spirit of who they are and who Quinta wrote them to be. I am shocked that like none of the guys were nominated, nor Lisa and Walter. Like, nothing for them. I'm shocked by that, because I thought this season of Abbott was really stand out. Like, really, really incredible. And I thought just like even the like development within oh my God, Janine and Gregory's relationship, and Jacob with his breakup. Wow, what a rhyme. But Jacob's breakup and like kind of, discovering himself and that whole story arc. I really thought that they all did such a great job at like developing these characters further than we even knew. And I loved this season because they took them out of the school a lot more. We saw it a little bit last season and they do it here and there on Abbott, but like this season specifically, they really took them out of the school more than we've ever seen it, which really allowed us to get to know these characters on a whole different level. So I am really surprised to not see more of them nominated for even the supporting actor, actresses, whatever it may be. But regardless, Abbott Elementary can do no wrong in my eyes. They can get 0 nominees and they still won in my heart. So that's neither here nor there. Next up with Only Murders in the Building, they were nominated for Outstanding Comedy Series. Martin Short was nominated for Lead Actor in a Comedy Series. And then the one that really stands out for me is Outstanding Casting for a Comedy Series. The guest appearances that they get on this show are always perfectly cast. I mean, Meryl Streep, Zach Galifianakis, Eva Longoria, they seriously cast these characters so perfectly. Even like the main three, Selena, Martin, and Steve Martin, like they seriously are so well casted, but the casting for the show just never misses. So I was thrilled to see them getting nomination for that. Beyonce was also nominated for a few Emmys, which is very exciting. She was nominated for the Beyonce Bowl for Outstanding Production Design for a Variety Special, Outstanding Choreography, Outstanding Directing for a Variety Special, Outstanding Variety Special Live, and Outstanding Production Design. Now, Beyonce's been snubbed by the Emmys multiple times. I'm pretty sure Carpool Karaoke beat Homecoming at one point, which like, let me not even get into it. But the Beyonce Bowl was a really, so was Homecoming. But I mean, the Beyonce Bowl was major. Like it was such a moment, I feel like, and they really showed what Beyonce can do in a short period of time. With Homecoming, it was an entire Coachella set, so it was a little bit different. So I would love to see Beyonce take home an Emmy for the Beyonce Bowl. I will say for Outstanding Production Design for a Variety Special, SNL 50, the concert, and the anniversary special were both nominated, and I think SNL 50 was so standout. So if the award for that does go to them, I would not be mad. And also the Grammys from this year were nominated, which I feel like everybody was saying this year's Grammys were seriously just so celebratory and so well done. I mean, the performances, it was just such like a celebratory night for music, which doesn't happen every year. So for this category, specifically production design for a variety special, I could see it going anyway, but like choreography, directing, outstanding variety special for a live show, outstanding production design, like they've got to pull one through for Beyonce, right? Like they've got to give her one. She got album of the year. Let's keep this party going. And then wrapping it up with just a few more, The Traitors were nominated for 5 awards with Outstanding Reality Competition Program and Outstanding Host for Alan Cumming. The Traitors is just incredible. Like it is such a great show. And this season, the season before, like they have really just been on an up and an up and an up. And I just love that it's just getting more and more popular every single year. So I'm so happy to see them nominated there. And then Drag Race was also nominated for Outstanding Reality Competition Program. And RuPaul became the most nominated reality host in Emmy history with 10 nominations. So very exciting there. Obviously, we always champion whenever Drag Race wins anything because we love Drag Race here at Too Pop to Handle. And then just to end it on like such a positive note, Bowen Yang was nominated for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series for SNL. And like Bowen Yang can just do no wrong in my eyes. It's just, everything he does is just so perfectly done. The comedic timing, his facial expressions, how quick he is, his wit, just this season of SNL, I feel like was really so big. Like there was just the special guests and there was just like so many big skits from this season. And SNL goes through phases where sometimes it's really on it and really hits it on the head. And some seasons it just kind of doesn't. This past season of SNL was seriously like just so well done. And Bowen was such a huge part of that. Very exciting there. Congrats to all of these nominees. Like I said, these are all shows that we love here at Too Pop to Handle. And I am so excited to see who takes home the awards later this year. It's only like 2 months away, so it'll be here before we know it. And on the topic of television shows, Gabby Windey is going to be hosting a new dating show on Hulu. The show is called Love Overboard and is set to debut in 2026 on Hulu in the United States and Disney Plus internationally. The show will see singles chase a possible love partner while sailing aboard a luxury yacht. The show synopsis reads, as the journey unfolds, romance ignites, alliances form, and hearts are shattered. It's kind of giving like if Love Island was set at sea. You know, it's like Below Deck and Love Island had a baby and now Gabby Windey is hosting it. I mean, honestly, sign me up. If Gabby Windey is selling, I am buying. So many people met her on The Traitors last season. I personally met her on Dancing with the Stars 2 or 3 years ago, whenever season that was, and I just fell in love with her, as so many people do. But I mean, her real roots start back on The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, and I mean, she has just continued to blow up and grow and grow and grow. And I feel like the more exposure she gets and the more people that she can get in front of, she's able to like cast this spell on more and more people every single day, and they just fall in love with her. She is such a one-of-a-kind talent, you know, like she is just, there is like nobody in the world like Gabby Windey, and I am so thrilled to see her getting the recognition that she deserves. And I just think her hosting a dating show, especially with her starting on her television career on a dating show and kind of maneuvering into, you know, other things, Dancing with the Stars, of course, her podcast, then Traitors, and just kind of really exploring every avenue. It's really fun to see Gabby kind of finding different ways to be Gabby and just like get on the TV screen and most importantly get paid. She did post a TikTok today announcing, this is the thing, like Gabby Windey literally announced the fact that she is hosting this TV show on Hulu by laying in her bed. Her makeup was like, her eyeliner was like smudged on her eye, and she was like, I'm hosting a new Hulu show and they already paid me. They paid me week by week, which the fact that like she was going on and on every single talk show she was on, dragging Peacock for not paying her, and now she's making sure she's getting her check week by week from Hulu. We love to see it, you know, make sure she's getting paid because she is bringing most of the eyes to the television program that she is appearing on. But I'm just so excited for her and so excited for this new chapter for whatever is next for Gabby. I feel like she's really just been like killing it lately, and everyone is just obsessed with her, as they should be. The show is also being produced by Alex Cooper's Unwell Productions, which is very exciting. I feel like Alex Cooper is really going into this next phase of Call Her Daddy. Like I don't think the podcast will ever go anywhere, but she's really just been like leveling up what's next for her and kind of what's the next phase for Call Her Daddy, even though I feel like it's been through so many phases, you know, when you think about where it started back at Barstool and like just kind of growing from there. So seeing her, she just put out, I think it was on Hulu she did, or Disney Plus, that documentary about her, you know, how she kind of started the podcast, and she opened up a lot about some personal things. So I feel like we're seeing a new era for Alex Cooper, and I think production fits her really well. So I'm excited to see that she's kind of expanding her horizons and is going into some new chairs, and this one is a production chair. So very exciting there. And then the final moment of the week that we're just too pop to handle. Ariana Grande seems to not be hanging up the actress thing anytime soon. It was announced today that her and Josh Gad will be starring in John M. Chu's Oh, the Places You Go animated film, which, I mean, Oh, the Places You Go is such a beloved story. I mean, I feel like everybody gets it at their high school or college graduation. It's like, you know, it's a sentimental thing for everyone. So I'm honestly surprised that there isn't a movie yet, or maybe there is a movie and it's just like now John M. Chu's doing it and going to add like the John M. Chu touch and budget, more importantly, to a movie. I'm excited for this. I love this. I mean, of course, a Dr. Seuss movie isn't something that I usually am like waiting for and like looking out for an announcement. But I mean, Ariana Grande, Josh Gad, just fun people. I couldn't even imagine like being in that room with the two of them. They're just going to be such like a fun energy, and they're going to bring such life to these characters. And voice acting is something I don't think Ariana has ever really voice acted. I mean, she did that one, oh my God, what was that song? What is that song where she played like the zebra or whatever? It's slipping my mind, but you know, if you know, you know. But like, I don't think she'd ever done voice acting really in anything else. And if she has, it hasn't been in like a starring role. So I'm excited for this. And she really is kind of like diving into this actress thing even more. I mean, obviously Wicked comes out later this year. She's going to be starring in the next Meet the Parents movie. So she's really kind of diving into this actress thing. And as much as I love pop star Ariana, I am excited to see her kind of explore these other avenues for herself and kind of of, see really what fits her the best. But I am, it's exciting to see her kind of going into this actress era. And, now she's going into voice acting. Of course, with Wicked, she was really flexing her Broadway side. With Meet the Parents, is going to be more of just like the strictly acting. And now she's going into like the voice acting. So it's really hitting a few different avenues of acting. And I think it's just going to be really good for her to just kind of like see what fits and what makes the most sense for her, and what, somewhere down the line, like what is next for Ariana Grande and what's next. Is she going to stick with the musicals and keep doing that because it kind of combines her love of acting and music? Is she going to just do strict acting, or maybe we never see her again and she just does voice acting for the rest of her life, and Dr. Seuss and her just hit it off and they continue to make movies together? Who knows? Regardless, very excited for this, and we will see what is in store for that. But what's most exciting to me about this new Dr. Seuss movie is not the fact that Ariana Grande is voice acting in it. It is the fact that Pasek and Paul are writing original music for this movie, which means Ariana Grande will be performing Pasek and Paul music in Oh, the Places You'll Go. And if you're unfamiliar with who Pasek and Paul are, let me jog your memory. La La Land, Dear Evan Hansen, The Greatest Showman, Shall I Go On? Like, Pasek and Paul are as good as it gets. Like, they are the creme de la creme when it comes to songwriting in movies or Broadway, whatever it may be. So the fact that we are getting a Ariana Grande, Pasek and Paul crossover for this Dr. Seuss movie, I am sold. I'm having deja vu of gushing about Pasek and Paul on this podcast before, and I don't know why. Oh, when they got their EGOT, I was like, this needs to be celebrated on the podcast. But yes, very excited to see that they are on board for this movie. I mean, John M. Chu, Pasek and Paul, Ariana Grande, Josh Gad. Really, what could go wrong with this movie? Like, yeah, it's an animated Dr. Seuss movie, but like, I will be seated. I cannot wait for this movie. We do have to wait until 2028, but you know what? It'll be worth the wait. And that being said, let's get into the main segment of this show, kind of staying on the topic of pop stars not wanting to pop star anymore. Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus have been making some headlines this week for kind of two different reasons, but they go hand in hand. So let me just get into it. It'll make sense at the end. So obviously we talked about Justin Bieber at the beginning of the show with this new album coming out. And if you remember a few weeks ago, we were talking about how he was in this debt. He owed Scooter Braun money. And then like within the same week, Hailey Bieber sold Rode for $1 billion. So people were thinking that she sold the company to then help Justin pay his debt back. I don't know if that was the case. I don't think that was the case, but it was very weird timing for all of that to happen. But as of this week, with the release of Swag, his new album, Justin Bieber has reportedly paid Scooter Braun $31.5 million to settle their financial fallout. They had a financial battle that kind of been going on since 2023 after Scooter and his company Hybe covered the cost of Justin canceling the Justice World Tour, which was in 2022, which was also the year that Justin sold his entire music catalog for $200 million. So everything kind of started to add up once all these reports started coming out, and like people started looking at Justin's money and being like, where is it? What's going on? Justin reportedly agreed to pay Hybe back in installments, but according to People, he only made one payment and still owed $26 million as of last week. Justin also reportedly owed Scooter $11 million in unpaid commissions from when they worked together. And as per TMZ, that's on top of the $8.6 million in unpaid commissions that Scooter agreed to forfeit. So I don't know how you end up owing somebody $31 million. Like, I sincerely hope I am never in a situation where I owe anybody $31 million. Like, that is such an unfathomable amount of money for me to even think about. And the fact that it's like, oh, this isn't even like money that you are like, this isn't like income for Justin. This is money that he is giving to Scooter for unpaid debts. And I mean, does Scooter Braun need this money from Justin? Probably not. But of course, when you owe somebody that amount of money, like, you got to pay it back, and however you do it, you got to do it. So I think with the album coming out this week and all of the stuff going on with him lately in the news, I mean, if you think back with Coachella, with Hailey posting the picture with the baby during Easter without Justin, the standing on business paparazzi moment, like there's been a lot going on with Justin, especially in the press, and people have just been talking about him a lot, and he's really had no control over what was being said about him. So I think like releasing this album, it was the first album he actually had 100% creative control because he's no longer working with Scooter and his team. So he was really able to just like fully do what he wanted with this album. So I think with releasing this album was kind of like setting free any creative setbacks that he had in the past, and then also being able to pay off that debt not only set him free of that debt, but also proved that he wasn't broke. And, Hailey maybe didn't sell her company to help pay it back. Or even if she did, they covered the debts. Like they are set, like they are fine. This really feels like Justin kind of like wiping his hands free of his past and moving on to something new, which I have some thoughts about and we'll get into in just a second. So Scooter actually released a statement over the weekend on Instagram about the album and how he felt about it because, God forbid, Scooter Braun doesn't insert himself into any conversation online. But he said, "I've been having a beautiful start to the weekend and been getting a lot of texts about how I feel about Justin's new album, so I will just leave it at this. This is, without a doubt, the most authentically Justin Bieber album to date. It's beautiful, raw, and truly him, and what matters. And that's what matters, excuse me. I've had the privilege of witnessing his growth for almost 2 decades. Along every journey, there comes a time when an artist fully steps into their own, and that's what he's done here. He poured his soul into this project, and you can feel it in every single run. The way he chose to release it is just as intentional as the music itself, and I'm happy to see him do it his way. I have played no role in this one, but as someone who's always believed in him, I'm incredibly proud and impressed, and I'm genuinely enjoying the music. Justin has a special tone that I have witnessed for almost 2 decades and is the best in the world. And because of that special tone, I have to say Daisies is probably one of my favorite records on the album. Stream swag and support an authentic voice. Now I'm off to go take my kids to watch Superman. Have a great weekend." And cool, kumbaya, nice. He was very nice about it. He kind of admitted to not letting Justin release the music that he wanted over the years, which when you look at Scooter, look at what happened with Taylor. He wouldn't let Taylor do anything with her music once he owned it as well. Like seems to be kind of a control freak, It's, I don't know. Maybe this is a reoccurring theme with Scooter Braun. Do I think he needed to release this statement? Probably not. He probably could have just let it go, done his thing, and continued on. But Justin Bieber and Scooter Braun were such a part of the pop music conversation for, like he said, 2 decades that it does make sense that he wanted to just, it was a nice message, I don't think the two of them are on speaking terms. Otherwise, he probably could have texted this to him. But, it was nice for him to say it kind of. This almost feels like where Justin let go of his, his past everything and kind of was breaking into this new creative freedom. This almost feels like Scooter also letting go of those shackles of being nope, this is all Justin, nothing to do with me. We are all good. We are all set. He paid me back. We are all good. Nothing to worry about. I will say I'm obsessed that Hailey Bieber almost immediately posted a Instagram story with Mariah Carey's Obsessed playing, which Hailey Bieber, one thing about her is she's going to post an Instagram story. That girl loves to post an Instagram story, a TikTok with some type of little message behind it. And you know what? Yeah, it's messy. And yeah, maybe sometimes I do think it's a little unnecessary. But in cases like this, when it's tearing down Scooter Braun, post another one. Post a TikTok. Post a whole cooking with Hailey. Do a whole YouTube video just dragging Scooter Braun. We would love to see it. But that being said, like I was saying, I really feel like Justin is in this new era of Justin and he's a dad now. He's definitely going through some things mentally. And when you look at this story in terms of what he owed Scooter, the majority of it was from him canceling the Justice World Tour, which if you remember when that happened, and really anytime Justin goes on a tour, not anytime, but most recently when Justin goes on a tour, it kind of does end in a not so favorable way. He always ends up having to cancel it or cancel a few shows because his mental health just isn't good. And even if you look at a lot of the old meet and greet pictures, I remember this was a thing back in 2013, I want to say. I don't know what era that was. Again, I never caught the Bieber fever. I apologize. But there was all these meet and greet photos people would post on Tumblr and they'd be he looks miserable. And he was. And it just makes me think when you release an album, typically you go on tour after to promote it. But I don't think Justin's going to do that. Not only did he just pay all this debt off from his last tour that he did, because obviously he had to pay that off. And it's hella expensive to go on tour, even when you're Justin Bieber. He just is never in the right mental state when he's on tour. And it kind of opened up this conversation of how toxic going on a tour can be when you're really not supported with the people around you and supported by, you're always supported by your fans, but especially somebody like Justin Bieber, who his fans are obsessed and truly are die hard fans. It's so taxing and so exhausting. And Miley Cyrus, who is kind of the counterpart of this conversation, or the other half of this conversation, kind of experiences the same thing. So she was on Good Morning America this morning, and she was asked the age-old question, are you going on tour again? Because of course, Something Beautiful just came out. It's about to come out on Hulu and Disney Plus this week. So, you know, like I said, you release an album, you go on tours, like the typical thing to do. And she said, I do have the physical ability and I have the opportunities to tour. And I wish I had the desire to, but I don't. I also don't think there's actually an infrastructure to support these artists. It's hard to maintain sobriety when you're out on the road, which is a really important pillar in my life. People are losing their life and losing their minds, and it's really hard to keep mental wellness. You have so many thousands of people screaming at you, so dopamine, so you feel a lot of love and then you totally crash out by the end of the show. You start thinking one person loving you is not enough and it needs to be 10,000, it needs to be 80,000. And I thought that was a really interesting way to put the toxic environments and kind of the toxic expectations that come with touring. And of course, when an artist tours, like, yeah, they are out on the road, they're living their dream. You know, you think like, oh, to be a pop star, to be a musician, like touring comes with it. It's something that you want to do and you have dreams of being on stage and performing for your fans or whatever it is. But it's always so glamorized, you know, like it's always such a obvious thing that people do. But I like Miley said, like you kind of crash out because you are just loved. You're shown so much love that it almost turns into like something you don't know how to handle. And yeah, you're feeling the love on stage, but then you're crashing out after. And when you look at Miley's touring record, I mean, she was on the Bangers tour, her dog passed away, and she was a wreck for the rest of that tour. Like I saw the Bangers tour pre-Floyd's death and after Floyd's death, and the show was completely different once Floyd passed away. Like it really took a toll on her. And then with Dead Pets, that was her next tour after that. And she wasn't really in the best headspace there. Like she was definitely, you know, playing around with some different things that weren't helping out with the sobriety of it all, which is fine for the moment. But when you look at her track record with touring, it does probably bring up so much of this PTSD that she experiences when she's on the road kind of thing. And I mean, you could argue she did like a mini tour back in 2021, 2022 with like the Attention tour where she was doing all of those shows, but that wasn't like an actual tour. It was just like a bunch of tour dates that she ended up being like, oh, I'm going to call this tour and release it as a live album. Like it wasn't announced as a tour. It was like, I'm doing Lollapalooza, I'm doing Glastonbury, I'm doing this random summer festival in like Minnesota or something. Like she was just doing random shows, and then they ended up bundling it together to like make this live album and calling it the Attention tour. So you could argue that, yeah, she could do live shows that way and kind of scattered around and not do like a full, you know, 30 city tour and go back to back to back to back to back and change it up, or even like a Vegas residency. But I think like at the core of it, like the way that Miley has danced around this question so many times and it's always a different answer, I think it's time for her team to just like stop letting these interviewers ask her these questions. Just a few weeks ago or months ago at this point, she was saying, oh, I can't go on tour because it strains my vocals. And then she said it's too expensive, which is true. Like even a lot of people don't realize, like maybe not Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus as much. I think they're kind of, I mean, actually, I don't know. Justin Bieber was paying $22 million when his tour got canceled. But like, for the most part, when an artist goes on tour, they're not seeing a lot of that profit. Like it's not, the merch is really what's profitable for them because the venue takes so much of the money. So I think people think they're making all this money when they're on tour, and like, yes, on paper, they're making all of this money. And like, still, like Miley's Bangers tour, like she said so many times, like she funded a lot of that because she wanted it to be so big and so grand, but they wouldn't give her the money to do it. So like she fronted the money for the giant tongue slide to come out of the screen. And like, did she need that? No. But did it get people talking? Yeah. Which like, is the point of being a pop star and being in pop culture, you know, like if you're gonna, especially if you're Miley Cyrus, like if you're gonna go big, you're gonna go big. And similar to Justin Bieber, like maybe not as grand as Miley Cyrus or, you know, Beyonce or Bad Bunny at these points, but like if Justin Bieber goes on stage and doesn't give a full show, and like think about Justin back in the day, he was giving full choreography, he was flying around the arena at one point, like he was doing full, like huge productions, and like it's taxing not only in a financial way, but also clearly in a mental health way too. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing artists kind of adapting this idea of like not going on a tour every time they release an album. Because if you're releasing an album every year and then going on tour every year and then releasing an album again, like that is a one-way ticket to a crash out and a burnout. And of course, like, no, you don't need to do it that way, but it is kind of the rhythm that a lot of people take. So it does open up my mind and make me wonder like what the future of touring for a lot of these artists are. I mean, Beyonce has a good rhythm with it. I feel like she doesn't go on tour every single year, but she's also Beyonce. And it's I hate to say that it's different, but same with Taylor Swift. Like, they don't need to necessarily release albums back to back to back to stay relevant, nor does Justin Bieber, nor does Miley Cyrus. So they are in kind of a different category, but it's going to start, once the big dogs and the big dominoes start to fall, the little ones are going to fall behind them. So it's interesting to think about like what the future of touring is like, and if it's going to continue to be as back to back for some people, or if it's going to be, they're going to space it out, or like they're going to opt out not to tour, because again, it's really not bringing in that much money when it comes to their pockets, which again, they're making enough money doing other things with album sales, with, the whatever it may be. Like they're figuring out other ways. Like trust me, these artists are not penny pitching looking for money. But when it comes to a tour, and when you're Miley Cyrus and you want a slide that's going to come out of your mouth on screen that you can enter your tour with, that's going to cost you a pretty penny. And, if it's, whether it's the costs or whether it's you just don't want to do it, like, I think there's too much of a pressure almost of like, we need to see this. We need to see you on the stage. We need to da-da-da. It's like, dance for me, monkey. Like, I always say this, like, there's like this expectation between like fan and artist that like they owe us something more than just their music. And like, I mean, I'm the first person to admit I love going to a concert. I would go to a concert every single night if I could A, afford it, and B, there was a concert that I wanted to go to every night. And trust me, there's artists who can go on tour back to back to back and they have no problem. They love it. It is what they love to do. But there are some of these artists who like, they just want to release music and like do their thing, and like, they don't want to do the whole tour and the whole production to it. And it brings up this conversation that I've had on the podcast before of like, when you sign up or when you make it big and you become an artist, like, what are the requirements that you have to do to continue your career? Like, is a tour necessary? Is doing a press junket necessary? Is an album every year necessary? Like, what is the right rhythm, and how can you go about doing it without mentally exhausting yourself? And I mean, I guess you could be Miley Cyrus and jump through hoops and make up different excuses as to why you're not going on tour every single time somebody asks you. Or you could be Justin Bieber and just cancel your tours and go into debt. But like, there's got to be a better way. But just like seeing these two stories coming out this week and thinking about their careers as a whole, Miley growing up in the public light so young on Disney, and Justin getting discovered on YouTube and then like blowing up overnight, basically. Like, they had this crazy upbringing, and they were like on the road nonstop, and they were at the Today Show one moment, and then they were across the country the next day, and then they were doing this, and it was nonstop for them. And like, I'm sure like nowadays child stars like that, they're not getting worked to the bone the way that they are. And like, it sucks that those were the ones that kind of had to be like the dummies for us to figure out like what is too much and how can we push these people to the limits without completely making them lose their mind. And like, unfortunately, we have seen Miley and Justin lose their minds in the public eye more than once. So it's very interesting. And as somebody who, like I said, loves concerts and loves touring and loves, the press moment of an album and the press junkets and things like that, I do kind of think of the way that it really isn't made for everybody. Like, there shouldn't be a one size fit all pop star mold. And though there isn't, of course, there are ways to do it differently. The traditional way is kind of set in stone. And it's interesting to see the way that artists kind of break out of it and find their own ways to do it, if that makes sense. Maybe I'm just mumbling now. Who knows? That being said, we won't be seeing Miley Cyrus or Justin Bieber on the stage anytime soon. But go stream Swag and Something Beautiful, because that's the only way you're going to hear them. And that wraps up our main segment of the show, but we are not done yet. We still have our TV recap, and it's an exciting one this week. Kicking things off, it is another day in the workroom, and we are talking about RuPaul's Drag Race, the second to last episode of this season. First and foremost, I just need to say, Mistress Isabel Brooks, I was rooting for you. I loved your attitude. I loved the way that you were a bitch and a mean girl and a bully, and you played it off, and you're biting your whatever. The way that you were speaking to these girls at the beginning of this episode was so insane. And I was standing up for Mistress all throughout her first bracket, I was saying, no, this is funny. This is good TV. And even this, like, this is good TV. I'm not going to lie. Like, the drama between her and Aja and the way she spoke to Ginger, it's good TV. But when you zoom out and look at it from like a bird's eye point of view, you can't speak to people like that. And it really put a sour taste in my mouth. But that sour taste was later dissolved at the end of the episode. So we'll get there. But that being said, it is another day in the workroom, and we have the All-Stars 10 talent show, a staple in any All-Star season, really. And I mean, this group of girls, we've got some big hitters. Kicking it off incredibly strong with Aja. I mean, she is a performer first, drag queen second. Like, she knows how to perform like no other. And I thought she did a really good job. I was happy that she didn't just go with like a typical voguing number. She kind of did she was voguing, of course. That's like what Aja does, but it was a little bit different than her typical routines of just like duck walking and doing whatever. She really was showing kind of a different side in that sense. I thought she did a really great job for this talent show. Next up, we had Bosco, which I thought was really cute and very fun. It didn't blow me away. I wasn't like floored by it, but I thought it was funny, and it really showed Bosco's personality. While she can look pretty and also put on a little talent show, even though she's thinking about being pretty and not being talented, the chair number and the lifts and the this and that. Like, the package that she put together, I totally understood. It wasn't the best talent show I've ever seen in my life, but I did think she did a really good job for this talent show. Betty, she looked so hot in this talent show. That little the office little moment she was doing with like the button up shirt and the fishnets, and then like photocopying her ass and having on the big thing. I was obsessed. I have come to love Betty. And not that I didn't like her before, but she wasn't like somebody I thought about often. I know that sounds shady, but like she wasn't somebody on my radar as often as she was. I am sold on the Betty experience after this All-Star season. I am all in. I've got to say it. I am loving Betty this season. And I mean, stapling the papers to herself, I was probably to a pad, but we're going to like pretend with the fantasy. And like, she might have actually stapled it to herself. Like, Betty's fucking crazy. She very well could have stapled her own body, who knows? But that being said, loving what Betty is giving us this season. Next up, we had Miss Ginger Minch, who is just... she can do no wrong, honestly. She is so talented. It is insane. I loved this like Mama Rose gypsy moment. She looked great. She sounded great. Broadway is like what Ginger does best, I would say. Not best, but it was one of her strong suits. So I thought this was really smart, and she did a standout job. She's really just been like killing it the entire season. Let's be honest. Like, she really is mopping the floor with these girls. Like, she is absolutely destroying this competition. Next up, another one who I think is just so fun to watch and really killing this competition is Irene. I thought this was so much fun and so smart. Obviously, she went home during her talent show on her season, so sticky situation for her. It's rocky waters, not to bring water into it, but it is what it is. And I thought this was so smart. Irene has done something so impressive on this season, where she really has shown us her growth, not just in the way that she looks and figuring out who she is, but she's really, I feel like crossed the T's and dotted her I's on her talent and her strong suits as well. And I love that we're able to see so much more of her on this season. Absolutely loved this talent show. I thought it was hilarious. Ending it with the drawing of the star, I loved it. It was so good. Georges, RuPaul said it herself. Georges is born to do drag. She's going to get on a stage and she's going to give it to you every single time. This was so funny. It was, in fact, incredibly muggy in there. And she's such a star. I love watching Georges. They could bring her back for every single All-Star season and I would still eat it up. I would never get tired of seeing Georges on my screen. Lydia. So I saw what she was aiming for, and I thought it was a really fun concept and really out of the box and kooky what we expect from Lydia, but I think it needed to just be buttoned up a little bit more. Like, it wasn't fully, It wasn't fully buttoned up and polished, I guess, which is fine. And when you think about Lydia, like, she did literally leave her season, then come right back for All-Star. So she didn't have the amount of time to like really gather herself between seasons, However, I did expect a little bit more from her, but it was fun. And I appreciate that she did something different opposed to just like what everybody else was doing. And then finally we had Mistress. I thought this was funny. Was it the best thing I've ever seen in my life? No, but it was fun. It was cute. Like, it was fine. She looked gorgeous up on that stage, but like Mistress always looks good to me. But yeah, it wasn't like groundbreaking talent show, but it was good. I did like it. And on the runway this week, we have Foiled again. And I loved this runway. I thought it was really, really good. Kicking it off, just unbelievably strong with Bosco. She is the most beautiful person I have ever seen grace the runway of RuPaul's Drag Race. The way that she walked out with that fur coat and then took it off with the metallic inside, and the way that it just like complemented the whole outfit, she looked unbelievable. And I believe she said she had a 19-inch inner waist. How the fuck do you get a 19-inch waist quickly? How does that happen? That is unhuman. That is unhuman. Is that even a word? Inhumane? I don't know what the word is. That is otherworldly to have a 19-inch waist at your old age. Not that she's old, but you know, at her age, she's not 19, like her waist. Like, that is insane. And she just looked unbelievable. She is just, I can't. Oh my God. And I love the bit where she takes the jacket off and she goes, "It's heavy," and throws it. I always wonder, like, what goes on when there's no voiceovers, you know, like with Drag Race, like when they're on the runway doing their thing, like what do they talk to the judges? Like, what do they say? So I love when we get to like break that fourth wall almost of the runway, you know, when they're doing it. I loved her note. Oh, it's heavy. Like, she gets it. She just gets it. And I love Bosco so much. Next up, we had Daya Betty. Like I said, I am loving Daya so much right now. And I thought this was really cool. Was it foil? No, but it still gave that like silver element. So I was into it. I thought this was really, really cool. And so Daya coded. I love the hair. The hair was so cool, like coming out with the two pom-poms. Really fun. This was really unique and very Daya, which is what we want to see on the runway. Ginger, this was cool. It was new for Ginger, and I think it worked really well. I loved the hair, the way it was like kind of like those waves over. I thought the gray hair in her looked really well. It almost was like a Meryl Streep kind of situation, you know, like a silver in a good way. I loved it. Thought it was really, really cool, really well done. Irene was unreal. Irene was unbelievable. The way that those wings were moving, like, I know it was her arms, obviously, like the way that she thought of it and the way that she constructed it, it was incredible. And like, everybody's done wings on the runway before. So to give them something that everybody's done and do it in a completely new and, you know, improved way is not easy. And Irene did it flawlessly. This was a killer week for Irene. I was so proud of her this week. I thought she really killed it. Next up, we had Georges again, who I'm always going to love what Georges does. This was really, really well done. I thought the star in the hair was really cool. I thought like all of the like gems on it were cool. And I mean, when you boil it down, she was wearing a disco ball on her dress. And if you know me at all, you know I love a disco ball. So of course I'm going to love this. Next up, we had Lydia, who was very fun and funky on the runway, dressed up as Alien vs. Predator. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really well constructed. And again, Lydia's really good at like making her drag her own and really like owning who she is. I thought this was a really good runway for her. I really liked it. And you know, not a lot of people would think to go Alien vs. Predator for a foiled runway. Like, I thought she has a really unique mindset. Is you know, the only way I can think to put it, but I really like this for Lydia. I thought it was a really fabulous runway. And then we had Mistress, who honestly, I hated this look. I did not like it at all. And it's so surprising because I typically love Mistress. And maybe I just had a bad taste in my mouth because of the top of the episode, but whatever it may be, these last two episodes, Mistress is not doing it for me. But this look, my problem with it is it was too much. They always say, look in the mirror and take one thing off before you leave the house. She needed to take like 4 things off. The hair was so cool, but then the pointy things going around it, it was too, I didn't know what to look at. It was too much. And I think if she would have taken some things off of it, it could have been a really well done runway. And I mean, of course the mug was mugging. Like, the mug and the hair were fantastic, but everything around it was just too much. And I was just really disappointed because I love Mistress, but I don't know. Something's up with her. It wasn't clicking the way that it should have clicked for Mistress on All Stars. But you know what? It is what it is. We come to find out that Bosco is the winner of this week. And I didn't think her talent show was the best, but I do think her runway really pushed her over the edge and made her, you know, in that top bracket for this. So as a whole, I wasn't like thinking Bosco was going to be the one to take it. But I mean, I'm not RuPaul. So RuPaul did. Good for Bosco. And I will celebrate Bosco winning any day of the week. So it is what it is. And the bottom two this week are Mistress and Lydia, which I do agree with. I think this makes sense. I think both of their runways paired with their talent show just weren't to the degree that you should have at All Stars / compared to the other girls up on that stage. Like there definitely was a difference, whether it was the talent show or the runway. Like there was something that just was a little bit weaker in both of their performances. So I do agree with this bottom two. It makes a lot of sense to me. They lip sync to Guess, the remix featuring Billie Eilish, which of course I'm obsessed with. I was gagging over the fact that we have a Brat lip sync. And then it was just kind of a meh lip sync. Like it wasn't anything crazy. Both of them kind of just like did it. Like it just like wasn't, I don't know. I just like with Guess, you just like expect a little bit more, you know, especially Lydia. Like she's so like grungy kind of like, I feel like Lydia is very Billie Eilish, Charlie XCX coded, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. Something about her just gives me Brat energy. And I mean, Mistress is the definition of a Brat, especially on this episode. So I wanted more from this lip sync. But I mean, it is what it is. It already happened and like you can't change the past. So whatever. We come to find out that Mistress is eliminated. And, you know, I'm shocked to say it. I'm not mad about it. I really don't like her attitude in these last two episodes. I loved her in her bracket. I thought it was funny. It was cute. Haha, hee, whatever. Scam the girls out of the points. Make your alliances. She was playing the game. Now she's just being mean and rude and bitchy. And like, there's a way to be bitchy and not be a cunt about it. She was just being nasty to everybody in that room, really for no reason. She didn't agree with the judges and didn't think that she should have gotten those critiques or be in the bottom. And she took it out on everybody. And honestly, it showed in her performance. And I think she just wore it on her face way too obviously. So as much as I love Mistress, I am not that mad to see her go just because, like, you know, like, come on. Yeah, it sucks you're in the bottom, but you didn't go home. So, like, be happy about that. It's just, I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way. However, she could come back. We then find out the girls leave the stage and the wild card comes into play. And we have Mistress, Kerry Colby, and Kerry Colby as the 3 picks for the wild card. The fact that Kerry Colby got picked twice is crazy. The fact that she got picked once, honestly, is crazy to me. And not that I dislike Kerry Colby, but like Denali, Tina Burner. There's so many other queens who could have been picked to be in the wild card, and they went with Kerry Colby not once, but twice. I was very surprised by that. But you know what? I'm not the judges, so I guess it doesn't matter what I say. They leave us on a cliffhanger. We don't know who they picked. It would be, I mean, when you think about odds, it's 2-1. It would make more sense that Kerry's ball gets picked. But the way that the judges reacted, it kind of gave that Mistress got picked because they were shocked. And like, I would be shocked too if like there was 3 names in there or 2 of them were the same and the one girl gets the ball picked, you know, like it would be kind of gaggy if Mistress gets picked. So we will find out this week on the finale. I am very excited to see how this all plays out and how this lip sync Lollapalooza goes. I mean, Georges in a lip sync Lollapalooza, sign me up any single day. So I am very excited for the finale. We will cover that all next week. And on the topic of finales, Love Island Season 7 is officially over. And I am so thrilled to announce that Amaya, Papaya, and Brian are our Love Island winners. I know the whole internet wanted Nicole Landria and everyone was rooting for them and this and that. I am thrilled to see the fact that Amaya and Brian won. I am so happy. But before we get to the finale, I have a few notes just about the week. I thought Family Day was really, really sweet. Amaya and Brian, their families are literally so they have the exact same values. And the way that they just hit it off with their families was so incredibly sweet. And it just warmed my heart. So I loved that. The way that Chris was sweating Huda meeting his family, that was the biggest red flag. Not that Chris is a red flag, but like you could tell right then and there they were not going to make it. And spoiler alert, they broke up in the finale. So the way that he was sweating that, I was like, dude, relax. Like, it's okay. You're good. But he was like not happy at the idea of Huda meeting his family. Like I I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, he's really letting his true colors show. I like this. I like Family Day. I thought it was really cute. I think last season they FaceTimed their family. I like that they brought them all to the villa this time. I thought that was really funny. Clearly they had the budget to fly their entire family in after season 6 did so well. So they flew them all in. I thought it was a really, really sweet, really cute episode. I was shocked that Shelly and Ace went home over Iris and Pepe. And I like Iris and Pepe a lot, but just thinking of the couples that were at that table, Shelly and Ace have been in cahoots on and off throughout the entire season. Iris and Pepe have only been together for a few episodes. So the fact that America voted more for Iris and Pepe than they did Shelly and Ace, I was truly shocked. I did not see that coming, but I mean, it is what it is. You know, that's how America voted. And we all know America votes kind of crazy these days. So can't complain there. I will say, I do think it would have been a closer tie, like with the couples, if Huda didn't have such a cult-like following behind her. Like, people who love Huda. I think she just passed like 4 million followers on TikTok, which is more than Love Island has on TikTok, which is insane. And she had a following before that, so it's like not just organic from that, but like Huda has a cult following behind her, which really is the whole reason she made it to the finale to begin with. Like, she was fully just backed by people who love her. It didn't matter who she was coupled up with. They were going to ride for her regardless. I also do think production kind of, made sure she made it through in some episodes. I definitely think back earlier in the season, there were some favors made for Huda to stay, but I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, I was shocked that it was, I was more shocked that I was shocked that Shelly and Ace went home, but I was honestly more shocked that it was between Shelly and Ace and Iris and Pepe, and not Iris and Pepe and Huda and Chris. I would have thought like Shelly and Ace were secured in the finale with Nicolandria and Amaya and Brian, and then Huda and Chris and Iris and Pepe were the two that were like back and forth. But the fact that it was Shelly and Ace and Iris and Pepe, that was shocking to me. But you know what? It is what it is. We get to the finale. We all go on dates. Very cute. Amaya and Brian's date was so sweet. It was just seeing the two of them just like understand each other so well is so beautiful. And I love the fact that they are the winners of the season, because they seriously just seem like they were in it for the right reason. And they didn't want to become famous. They didn't need the money. They weren't doing, Amaya's donating the money. Like, it's so, I feel like they really were in it for the right reasons. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I thought the date was adorable. I honestly thought Nick and Olandria were gonna win during their date. The way that they gave them all of those messages from people online, it was giving like, oh, we're prepping you for the fact that like everybody loves you, so you're gonna win. Like, I really was like, all right, Nick and Olandria, they're gonna win, which I would have been fine with. I do like them together as a couple. Like, I think they're really cute. I just love Amaya and Brian so much. So I was like, I would rather it be them, but if it's anybody, I'm happy it would be them as the backups. But now thinking about it, maybe they were like giving them those messages to be like, hey, you're not going to win, but everybody loves you. So like, don't sweat it. You're going to be fine outside of the villa. But in that moment, I was like, fuck, Nick and Olandria, they're going to win. And poor Amaya and Brian, like, I was so sad. But I am so thrilled that they won. And then the elephant in the room, the fact that Huda and Chris break up mid-date. Not only do they break up mid-date, then the producer is sending out a singer to sing for them in the middle of their date. Like, were the producers not listening to their conversation? Were the producers just sitting there like, all right, they're about to break up. Let's send in this singer for Huda and Chris to really just like lighten the mood. And maybe this random singer showing up on the water while they're sitting there having a fight is going to make them fall back in love. Like, why did they send that singer out? Genuinely, why did they think sending out that singer at that moment in time was a good idea? Because it literally was, should we be together? The singer comes out, then they broke up. And then Chris not carrying Huda back when he carried her in. You know what? I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. And yeah, like, sure, you just carried her over and like you're being a sore loser. I would be pissed too. Like, we just made it to the finale and you're going to throw everything away now when we could have called it quits weeks ago and like explored other connections. Like, Huda wasted Chris's time in the villa. And I think Huda just wanted to be there to get more followers, which I guess she did. And like, she got what she wanted in the end of the day. But like, it just pissed me off. And like, yeah, not every connection is going to make it. But like, we just watched Shelly and Ace go home and Taylor and Clark go home the episode before that. And like, Huda and Chris are in the finale and they're not even really a couple. Like, it just, something about it, it rubbed me the wrong way and it did not make me happy. But you know what did make me happy? Amaya and Brian winning Love Island. I said it to you guys last week and I've been rooting for Amaya and Brian since they coupled up. I am just so happy to see that the two of them ended up winning. And you could tell that they were genuinely so shocked by the fact that they won. Like, they did not expect to be the winners of this season by all means. It was so sweet. And the way that they got the zoomies together and ran around the island, it was so adorable and so cute. And I'm so excited to see what Amaya and Brian do outside of the villa and just like continue on this up and up. I mean, Amaya's going to be on Call Her Daddy this week, which is crazy. She already sat down in an interview. Amaya's donating the money. Brian's investing it. Like, I just feel like they have a really great future ahead of them. And I'm really excited to see what is in store for the two of them. And this season of Love Island definitely had its moments where it wasn't great. And the season wasn't good by all means, but we did have a great set of winners. So for that, I will say it is a very successful season of Love Island. And now we are going on to Love Island Beyond the Villa. Not too much to say about Love Island Beyond the Villa, just because there's only one episode in and like we're kind of just like setting the scene. But what I will say is that Kaylor and Liv's fallout, it was kind of predicted on TikTok. People have been seeing them kind of distancing for a little while. I didn't expect for them to get into it as quick as they did. Like, the fact that they just, episode 1, fully hit the ground running. Kaylor's like, yeah, she stayed with my family and now she's not inviting me to her parties. She's not doing this. And like, they fully just like aired out their drama episode 1. I was shocked. Like, I was very surprised that that was the way that they're like starting the season off. But I mean, they have to capture us some way. And obviously PPG is like stronger than ever and just like never going to have an argument. So like, they have to give us the drama somehow. But I really did not expect the Kaylor and Liv drama to come out so early in the season. I knew it was coming, but I thought maybe they would focus more on Kaylor and Aaron, or there's this whole thing with Janae and Connor. Like, I thought that would kind of be, you know, easing us into it because it's connections that we expect to kind of butt heads. But the fact that we just jump into the season and we're seeing Kaylor and Liv fully falling out, I was like, oh my God, we are going there. Yeah, Kaylor was there for Liv and like helped her out and gave her a place to stay. And I'm not saying Liv lying to her is correct, but I can see maybe Liv is like, I want to be my own thing. Like, Kaylor did kind of get the big fan edit for a while. I mean, people loved her and were like rooting for her when the whole thing with Aaron went down. And Liv in the villa last season was very much just like the best friend to everybody. You know, she never really had that strong of a connection. She was never really, not that she wasn't there to find love, but there was just nobody there for her. So she did kind of just play this role of like the girl's girl best friend. And she was great at it. And we loved her for it. And like, I love Liv. Everybody loves Liv. She's great. So I could see her wanting to kind of like spread her wings and go her own way and not be Liv and Kaylor at so much like connected to each other, because then it kind of become like a codependent thing. But I do think the way that she's going about it isn't right. Like, the fact that she like told her, oh, we're not doing the party. And then Kendall was at the party. And then at the premiere party the next day, she's like screaming for Kaylor and rooting for her. Like, that seemed a little weird to me. Like, if you're gonna, like, don't play the two-faced kind of situation. Like, don't uninvite somebody to a party and then cheer for them when they walk into an event the next day and act like it's all glitter and rainbows. Like, for that, I do see Kaylor's side and I do understand. But I also see that, like, Liv just kind of wants to be Liv and live her life. So I think they really need to, like, figure out this communication and figure out, like, how they're going to handle this, because they do have a great friendship and a great sisterhood, really. Like, I think the two of them really do complement each other really well, where like Kaylor needs things, Liv has them, and like what Liv needs, Kaylor has. Like, they have this like good kind of connection together. But I think they're just kind of don't know how to work out these like weird kinks, and like they don't know how to like be separate. So the only way they know how to do it is for like Liv to like completely lie to Kaylor, because she doesn't know how to tell her these things to her face. So we'll see. I do see them ending up working things out, because they are literally like family. Like, they live together for so long, and like they just seem like, you know, it's just, it happens with friends. You know, you have your moments, you fall out, you're not as close, you get back together, you'll be fine. But I do feel for Kaylor, like having to see Aaron for the first time and like Liv doing this within the same 24 hours. Like, you knew that this was going to happen to her. You could have at least been there for her more and been like, hey, we are doing the party, but we're just like, we're gonna I don't know, just the way that she went about it was so wrong. And knowing that thing with Aaron was coming up, it could have been handled so much better. So we will see where it goes. Everything else is pretty, you know, I mean, yeah, obviously Kaylor and Aaron talking is going to be drama and whatever. They didn't really leave it for much to interpret. we'll see where they go for the season. I don't think they're going to end up together in the end of the season. I don't think that's what the producers want us to think or what either of them want. But, they got to kind of keep us on our toes. I am curious to see what happens with Janae and Connor, because Janae wants nothing to do with him right now, which Janae is my fave. Like, I am obsessed with her. But I do think there is some room for forgiveness there. And I do think she does kind of need to let go a little bit of what happened in the villa, but also like, Janae can do no wrong in my eyes. So like if she wants to hold a grudge over Connor's head for the rest of his life, so be it. Janae can do no wrong to me. And that's kind of where I'm at with Love Island Beyond the Villa. We're only an episode in, so we'll see where we go. And yeah, next week Drag Race is over, so we have one more week recapping Drag Race. So I guess I'll just be recapping Love Island Beyond the Villa for the rest of the summer. Yeah, wow, I didn't realize that till just now. That's crazy. So we will definitely be cutting down the TV recaps. But I mean, that's kind of how it always goes. We ebb and flow with it. So yeah, one more week of Drag Race recaps. Love Island is done. And then we'll start Love Island Beyond the Villa recaps. And then we will, start a new Drag Race season in January, because that will probably be here before we know it. And that being said, I have been talking a lot this episode. That being said, we have made it to the final segment of the week. It is time for our yes and our mess of the week. My yes being something I am loving and my mess being something I am not loving. And we always start things on a high note. So my yes this week is Lorde going to John Proctor is the Villain. So if you didn't know, there is a play on Broadway right now called John Proctor is the Villain. It was starring Sadie Sink. She just left, but it's still on Broadway. It's going through the end of August. I need to go see it. But it follows these high school girls, and they're reading The Crucible, and it's like a loose retelling of that story. And to what I understand is they're starting like a feminist group in their small town, and they're getting pushback for it. And it's a very like coming of age, becoming a woman, feminist kind of story, which we support all around here at Too Pop to Handle. But the big scene, the big number at the end, like the breakthrough moment, they have a whole dance number to Greenlight by Lorde, which is really like the coming of age anthem of our generation. So it's been this like ongoing thing of like, when is Lorde going to go see this show? Because it's so Lorde coded. They talk about Taylor Swift and it's very pop culture heavy, but like Lorde is the big moment at the end. So it was like, when is Lorde finally going to go see this show? And she finally went to go see it over the weekend before Sadie finally left. And it's just so cool to see Lorde like appreciating a show that pays homage to her. She obviously had to give them the rights to the song, so she knew it was happening, but to see her go and she's like taking photos with the cast, and she ended up like signing playbills at the stage door with the cast after. And like, she knows that her music is such an integral part to not just this play, but our generation, like she's really a huge part in a lot of people's coming of age stories, mine included. So to see her going to the show, and it was a really cool kind of celebratory moment. And the writer of the show posted on Instagram, the nicest Instagram caption I've ever read. She said, "I've been working on John Proctor as a villain for 7 years. From the very first draft, it ended in a dance, and the dance was always Greenlight. John Proctor as a villain simply does not work without that song. To make the art that I needed to make, I needed Lorde's art. Her art has transformed my spirit over and over again and gives me names to feelings I didn't know how to articulate. Her art has been my teacher and my companion in hard moments and glorious moments, in headphones on city streets, in cars on mountain back roads." And then she goes on and pretty much just talks about how great Lorde is, which we all know. But I just love to see the fact that like this show is so rooted in real. I mean, Greenlight really is like a song that so many people use as like it's a song about just like finding yourself after maybe you lose yourself in a relationship, or you're just discovering yourself, especially as a senior in high school. I believe the girls are in the show. Like, that's such a huge moment for anyone. So it's cool to see that like music in real life is now getting interpreted into art and stage plays, and just seeing Lorde go, and she writes in the locker, she like signs it, she's like, "They danced to my song, what an honor." Like, just like such a cool moment. And like seeing that the playwright for the show is such a huge fan and like seriously feels her music kind of stitched into every moment of her life, and then is able to perform it or like have it performed on stage every night to her art. Like, such a beautiful blend of two artists coming together. And it was just, what a fabulous moment. We just love to see it. And I mean, Lorde is just having such a moment right now, and we love to see it. We love anytime, every 4 years when Lorde decides to go into her retrograde and come back around. So we're loving that this is all kind of lining up for the John Proctor as the villain of it all. And shifting gears a bit to my mess is kind of more so not the situation is the mess, but the way that the public handled it is the mess. So Britney Spears posted on Instagram, which should be your first sign of like, okay, take this with a grain of salt. And she wrote in there that she's so excited to tell everyone that she adopted a little girl named Lennon London Spears. And like, sure, saying you adopted a kid is not something to like tread lightly about or joke about, and like not something like bringing a child into the world, whether it's with childbirth or adopting someone, is a very serious thing to do. However, and I say this with love because you guys know I love Britney, what Britney Spears says on the internet is to be taken as satire. Unfortunately, it's just the world that we live in these days. And it is just, you know, she's been through a lot and mentally she's not all there. And again, I say this with love and I say this delicately, and it is sad to say and sad to see that like this person who was once on top of the world in terms of pop music and like the most famous person in the world is now just doing whatever she wants on Instagram because like she's just been like through the ringer. So she posted on Instagram and like fans were like, what the fuck do you mean? Like you're just now starting to see your kids again. Like your kids were basically like taken from you because they didn't want to be around you, which is just such a fucked up situation. And like I could go on and on and on for that. But the way that people were writing articles about this situation and fully thinking that Britney Spears adopted a child and announced it to a video of, I mean, I guess if Britney Spears was to adopt a child, she would probably just dance around with some knives in her kitchen and that's how she would announce it. However, the adoption process is such a long and crazy process. And you have to go through so many screenings and prove so many ways that you are mentally fit, financially fit. All of these different boxes need to be checked before you can even be like considered for adoption. And for people to genuinely sit there and think that Britney Spears, and again, I say this with love, I say this with light, I say this with a broken heart that this is not the reality for Britney, to think that Britney Spears would be approved to adopt a child in the state of mind that she is in. Media literacy is so incredibly dead. Like people really don't know. And again, I understand like reading a caption, you're like, well, why else would she say it? If anybody else posted this, yes, be like, what the fuck do you mean? Why are you saying you adopted a kid if you didn't? But we really need to think who is writing this caption. And again, with love and with light and with a broken heart, I say this about Britney Spears, but she is not all there. And I mean, I support Britney and everything she does. I am double tapping every single post. I'm all for Britney doing what she wants and living her life and dancing in a kitchen and going on vacation and doing whatever she wants. But we need to be realistic and be like, why were magazines writing articles reporting that Britney adopted a child? Like, I get it for the clickbait of it all, but like we knew deep in our hearts that was not true. Like, am I wrong for thinking that? Like, am I wrong for being like, why did we even let it get to the point of people reporting this? And like Rolling Stone had to put out the statement to be like, hey, she didn't adopt a kid, by the way. She was just joking on Instagram. Like, am I wrong? Am I crazy? I don't know. I just thought this was like a very bizarre, just a very bizarre moment when I realized that like, oh, people really do just believe everything they read on the internet. Like people will fully just read whatever and be like, oh yeah, that must be true because it's on the internet, so it's got to be real. It's crazy. I don't know. It is wild out there. And that is my show. So thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Too Pop to Handle. If you were listening to us as a podcast, go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating. It would seriously mean the world to me. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe and give me a big thumbs up. Drop a comment down below. Don't be shy. If you would like some extra moments from the week that were just too pop to handle in between podcast episodes, make sure you subscribe to my Substack. It is toopoptohandle.substack.com. It will always be linked down below in the description if you cannot find it. And if you would like to follow me on my socials, we are at Too Pop to Handle across all platforms. And I am at Andrew Nucatola across all platforms. And I think that's it. Yeah, with that, I will catch you guys next week. Bye.